my sister, I say my sister, but we've been friends since we were 16. She came into town one time and she said she no longer goes by a title. And I've adopted to this title that she now says is, so she no longer says she's a Christian, she says she's a Christ follower. And so that's what I hope to accomplish, man. I mean, Denzel said it best. Like, look, he said, God is always walking with us, even though we're not close to him all the time. And so that's what I try to hope to treat people as best I can. You know, try to treat people, no matter what walk of life they are. I want to treat people with respect, integrity, and dignity. I think that's what I want to try to accomplish and be known for, to me, to my core. You know, whether it's my wife, family, friends, strangers. I say that's who I am. I say I'm a guy that's just trying to be as good, not a nice guy, because you don't want to be a nice guy, because you have to do some unnice things for the greater good. So I want to be a good guy.
So let me ask you this. And so, growing up as a kid, we all had different things that we wanted to do, all the different things that we love to do. For me personally, I tell everybody, when I was 4 years old, I watched wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to be a wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
As a kid, how did you envision yourself as you grew up?
You know, both my parents were Navy, so my mother and my father were both Navy. My mother was a corpsman in the Navy, chief petty medical officer. My father, my actual father, did ordnance. So if you know anything about the military, he installed explosives. My stepfather was the chief of the catapult on an aircraft carrier. So my whole life, man, I was like 5 years old doing 3/4 folds on underwear and T-shirts. So anybody who's in the military, they know what 3/4 folds are. You know, my bed had to be dress. Growing up in a household of structure and discipline, you know, I wanted to, and being an only child, that set the kind of the parameter of your imagination takes you wherever you want to go. You know, I had to entertain myself a lot of the times, you know. And so for whatever the reason, man, my mom and my dad bought me this Fisher-Price recorder, and I would literally record commercials.
Wow.
Go in my room and repeat the commercial back. It was weird, man. I was that kind of a kid where I just, because when you're an only child, you got to entertain yourself.
Yes.
So, you know, I just got used to the sound of my own voice. And so I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be a firefighter. I wanted to be a pilot. You know, these were things that I wanted to be. A race car driver. You know, these. You know, being a kid.
Right.
But you know, watching wrestling like you did, the WWF.
Man, yeah, exactly.
Junkyard Dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Kabuki. You know, all that stuff.
Von Erichs.
The Von Erichs, man. So I grew up in California. I was born in Bethesda, Maryland. Grew up in California. Grew up in Hawaii. And so, you know, I was grateful to be a kid. You know, you mentioned wrestling. Kids these days don't even have time to be a kid. Politics determines who and what they are. It's like kids can't even be kids anymore.
Man, you just said something a while ago that, man, I don't think a lot of people would understand. You said you were only child. You had to entertain yourself.
Yeah, man.
But in a lot of situations, when it's just you and you're the only child, you kind of come up. The parent doesn't have anybody else to spoil. But
I was spoiled. Yeah.
But it's weird. That's weird to me because you're one of the most consistent people I know.
Yeah. Thank you.
I will go to the gym, whether it be 24-hour fitness or even just every XKO event. You're there. You know, a lot of things that you do, I would perceive as this person is loyal and he's extremely consistent. And people would say those are traits that you wouldn't get from an only child because an only child, as you say, they're spoiled. They get the things that they want. They don't learn and they don't learn consistency. They don't learn how to be a dog and get things done. Did your parents instill that in you, or did that kind of just come like, how did you learn how to be consistent and disciplined?
It was definitely discipline, and consistency was just definitely part of my upbringing. I mean, you know, when my mom and my father divorced, it was just the two of us. And my mom remarried, and then she divorced, and it was the two of us. And so since I was probably 7, maybe 7 and 8, on to now, it's just been my mom and I. You know, outside of my grandparents and cousins and whatnot. But I was the type of kid, my mom would come in. I would go to my playroom, man, when I was a kid. I have all my toys in my toy box. And my mother would walk in and she would say, all right, Tony, when you're done playing with your toys, you got to put this away. And her favorite thing was to say was a place for everything and everything in its place. And so as a kid, I was free to be a kid. Mm-hmm. But understand, I was under the umbrella of a military lifestyle.
Right.
So basically my whole life has been a boot camp, man. You know what I mean? So that's where structure came in, and I credit that to my mother, who instilled that to me. I mean, whether it was making your bed first thing in the morning, you're a kid, get dressed, make your bed, come down for breakfast. Step and repeat. And